People around the world are beginning to understand that all our problems are global. We know that we've created a system that isn't working. Perhaps the greatest revolution in human history, I think, that's occurring right now. All of this gives me great hope because I see that people around the world are truly waking up.
There are ways to invite in this kind of shift in our worldview, in our mindfulness, to transform this kind of fixation on the external and really begin to work on developing our own inner peace and our own sense of well-being.
The practice of peace in ourselves is the practice of getting a good grip on our mind. And if we do that, if we give it all our heart and all our mind and all our spirit and all our love, the next moment's going to be just fine. And that's all we have to do in the next moment. This is where we need to make peace and have great hope and faith in yourself.
Peace is a state of being. And in order to help others move towards peace, we have to know it experientially. Swami Brahmananda said, health is wealth, peace of mind is happiness, yoga shows the way. Health is our real wealth. Real happiness comes from peace of mind, and yoga gives both. And then he gave the 5 points of yoga to elaborate what it means.
The point of our practice, actually the point of our life itself, is to realize who we are. What's our true nature? There's a Zen master named Dogen who said it very nicely. He said, to study in a spiritual tradition is to study the self. Little self. And to study the self is to forget the self. And to forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. Nice, huh? And to be enlightened by all things is to remove all barriers between yourself and everything else.
As you develop this incredibly refined sense of embodiment through your practice of yoga, and this awakening of the heart through your singing of devotion and that devotional self, it's so that you will recognize the slightest wobble of self-involvement. And then what's left is loving love with each other. And that's peace on earth. That's the kingdom of heaven here. The self is another word for it. The present moment is another word for it.
The more we move within, the more we come in contact with the changeless and transcendent aspect of who we are, which is of the nature of peace. It's unperturbed by the changes of moods, etc., etc. And once we discover this peace, the yogis teach we radiate this peace.
If we can begin to pay attention to those things that are important within us, what gives us meaning, what gives us purpose, how do I find that place of stillness? That can allow us to shift our awareness and shift our attention. So if I'm engaged in dysfunctional patterns that have laid down these neural pathways in my brain and led to very aberrant behaviors, it's very hard to break out of that. And so what we realize is that we need to reinvigorate our brains and bodies. Like if I went to a gym and I was trying to improve a particular muscle group, well, the same is true in our brains and our bodies, where we can build these habits that are life-enhancing and that allow us to see the virtues, that allow us to experience gratitude and forgiveness, compassion, empathy. These are things that are habitual and in time, with repetition, become more and more natural.
Practice is so important because the practice actually generates the transformation. And when we are transformed and we have an experience, we are motivated to continue and deepen that experience. It has to be experiential. Experiential is only through practice. And practice means the 5 points of yoga.